Bueno, bienvenidos a Tiempo Fuera. Hoy estamos con Eric Rush. Eric, how are you doing?
Hola, what's going on, guys? I'm doing good, man.
Eh,
Appreciate you having me on the show.
no problem. Thanks a lot for taking the time to be here. We really appreciate, obviously taking the time to be here. And, uh, with the question, we kind of like going through a timeline with our interviews. So we like to go to the start with the first question and, ask you who introduced you to the world of basketball.
Oh man, that's a good question. Um, it had to be my parents, obviously. I grew up in a military family, so I moved around the United States a lot. But when I was about 5 or 6, my dad, put the ball in my hand, and I was on the military base, and they had a basketball team there, so he introduced me slowly to it then.
Absolutely. And do you remember what specific age,
It might have been around 5 or 6. I can't
Oh,
remember exactly. Yeah, it was about 5 or 6 years old.
really, really young.
Yeah, man, right from the start.
Perfect. And, I another thing that came up to me, right away is, I saw you were Swedish at first. One of our goals is ultimately to interview a person from every country in the world. And,
Oh,
so far we've done, I think, really well. In like 6 months, we've interviewed around 35 countries. Uh,
mm,
so, but when I dug deeper, to like see information for the interview, I saw that you actually were born in the United States. So what made you play for the Swedish national team?
oh man, yeah. So, well, you got actually two people from one person from two countries because I'm American and I'm Swedish. Um, and it's because my dad is from Philadelphia, born and raised American. My mom is born and raised in Sweden. So
Oh,
he actually met her in Sweden. He was in the military, and she was working at an embassy in Stockholm, and they just as a security guard, believe it or not. And they met each other there. They got married there, and then they went back to the States, and then I, lived here and still live here ever since. And I was born and raised here, but during the summertime, my mom would send me back to Sweden for to go visit my grandparents. So I would live there for a month, like every summer, and I got entrenched into the culture there. I started speaking the language because my grandma, she doesn't speak any English, so I had to learn, and I learned the culture like that. And then so I would come back in the States, and then I would move because every like 4 years, military people they move around the States. So I went from South Carolina, then I moved to California, and then I grew up here, but moved all around California. But so Sweden was the only main, one thing that was in my life as I was moving around the country here.
yeah.
Sweden remained the same. So yeah, as I got older, yeah, I had a love for the country because it was the main thing that stayed for me my whole life, my grandparents, my family there. So I thought it was an honor to represent the country.
Absolutely. And also when you got that first goal, how what was going through your mind, to represent a national team? That's ultimately one of the many goals of every athlete.
Yeah, I mean, I was excited. I was super proud. I actually was, they didn't know about me. I was in college and I was doing good in the Big Sky in Montana State. And I actually reached out to them and I was getting ready to go pro. And I said, hey, I'm a Swedish American, Swedish player. And, I'd love to see if I can get involved somehow. And they were surprised. They were like, really? You're Swedish? Okay, yeah, please come out. And then, so I basically went through a workout there to try out kind of before my senior year in college. And they saw that I was, good and they wanted me. So they invited me to, when I went pro, they invited me that summer. And I was super proud, man. I was proud to represent the country. My whole family, my grandparents there were super proud. So it was a great feeling.
Absolutely. And also, you played in a lot of places, but uh, one of the places that you've been the most, I see, is Italy. Is there
Hmm.
a reason why you specifically stayed that long in that country, or it
Oh man.
was as
Well, wouldn't you? Italy, man. No,
yeah.
no. Honestly, I did. I fell in love with the culture. I fell in love with the fans, and it was kind of reciprocal. I had a real relationship with the people there and the fans, and they loved me and I loved them, and I kind of ended up staying. I kept getting contracts. So I got a lot. I had a lot of respect there. It worked out.
Absolutely, and also another thing that I saw maybe a bit random was that you were basically in Europe your whole career, and then last year you went to Mexico.
Yeah, that's right.
Why did you went there?
So it was kind of crazy. Unfortunately, 2 years ago, I was playing very well for my team in Italy, for Lee, but I sustained a injury, right? A pretty serious injury to my back, basically. And so after that season, I was just rehabbing, and I couldn't get a deal. I couldn't agree to a deal, I should say, in Italy. There was a couple teams we talked to, but they were a little bit worried about my back and trying to, they kind of hesitant to offer me a good deal. So the first phase of the market went by without me signing. And then I was here training and I was recovering and rehabbing. And this opportunity in Mexico came up in the last minute. Uh, but the team was a really good, it was one of the top teams in the standings. And I just saw it as a great opportunity, really, to go rehab, get some
Yeah,
playing time, and get better and get prepared to show the teams back in Italy or in Europe that I was better.
yeah, and you went back the same year, didn't you?
Yeah, I went back. So it was funny that it was my team that I had played for the
Yeah,
previous 2 years. They wanted me all along, but they just wanted to make sure I was healthy enough to play. So when they saw that, they were convinced, and they just brought me back right away.
perfect. And another
Yeah.
question that we like to ask a lot, just out of curiosity, you played with a lot of players only through the leagues, but a lot of great, another a whole group of great players throughout
hmm
the international games. Who would you say stands out the most amongst the players that you went against, or that were the toughest matchup?
Toughest to play. Yeah, I played it when I went back to. When I first came to Italy, I went to Serie A, and the first year I was with Varese, and we had an unbelievable year. We finished first in the regular season. We had an unbelievable team. We played against, Siena when they were still a powerhouse, Milano, but we actually beat Milano every time. But I would say the player on my actual team, so I went against him every day in practice, was Bryant Dunston, who was, EuroLeague Defensive Player of the Year many years, was EuroLeague champion. And then a guy who I actually learned from, Ebi Airy, who a lot of people, I don't know, not sure if they know, but he had a long career, and he was a small forward. He was a great player. Um, and I had Adrian Banks, Mike Green on my own team that I learned from, and they're really good. But Brian Dunston was one of the best, I would have to say. That's
That's
my
great.
guy.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I knew he won a couple of Euro leagues and the Defensive Player of the Year. We tend to players from around the world, and especially from Europe. I'm not personally from Europe, but I
hmm
watch a lot of basketball.
Oh
uh,
yeah, for sure.
the Euro League is one of the most exciting leagues in the world.
Yeah, yeah, it's top level, man, and it's getting better. It's getting better. It's like right there. You see a lot of players, even European, that want to stay in EuroLeague as opposed to going to NBA now because it's just getting better and better.
Yeah, some players right now that are in the Euro League, I believe, could for sure make some NBA spots.
hmm
Especially now, I think the most stacked team, in names, Real Madrid has very
hmm
big names, and it
Yeah,
will always have. But I feel like some players on Europe should definitely showcase their talent around the world, especially in the NBA, that they have more exposure, I believe.
yeah, exactly. And Real Madrid is this. I mean, if you look at the club, it's probably better than some NBA teams. Like the worst NBA team as far as what they provide for the players and the facilities and the culture and the city. My Swedish teammate and friend, Jeffrey Taylor, actually played there many years, won many EuroLeague and Spanish championships, and he just had a great experience there. It's unbelievable.
Great to hear. And something I believe would be really interesting is if sometimes the NBA can expand not to create new teams, but sometimes have like a matchup, a playoff kind of in between Europe and NBA. That would be really interesting to have.
Yeah. They always had a preseason kind of matchup that I
Yeah,
remember. If you remember, Luka Doncic played
yeah.
against, OKC, but it'll be interesting if they can do it during the regular season or create a tournament or something like that. That would be
Yeah,
great.
after the season ends, or they are trying to have like a mid-season tournament or something. It will be
Yeah.
really nice to have, matchups between Europe and NBA. The only thing I think would be the ruling, the rules
Mm,
because they have different rules, but
yeah.
that will be all.
That would be interesting, man. And they were even talking about expanding, like the NBA would have a team in Barcelona or London, and then trying to have like integrate them into the season. But I think it'll be tough with the time zone, the difference is just super tough. But what do you think? Should they play if they match up in the mid-season? Should they play with the NBA or the European rules?
I think they should play with the European rules because FIBA is, the ruling everywhere except in the NBA. So
Oh, okay.
they should play probably in the FIBA rules, as they
That would be
do in
yeah.
the, World Cups and in the Olympic Games.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that would be super interesting, man. I hope they do something like that.
We'll talk to the NBA to organize
Yeah, yeah.
organize something like that.
Yeah, you let me know, man. Well,
Great. And also another thing that we're extremely curious about. I know that you're a free agent right now, but when you were playing, uh, is there something that you always did before a game, like something OCD kind of?
oh man. For sure. Um, it was a lot of things. I mean, it was never like a ritual, super, super serious, but I would always, the day before do the same stuff, get my rest, the certain type of meal, which is like a carb. I would do like chicken and whatever, pasta or something that would get me ready for the next day. But maybe before the game, the only kind of weird thing maybe was put my sock on. It was always like left to right. It was never like right to left. That was the only thing. Oh, hold on. I can't hear you. One sec.
Oh, my bad, my
Oh, there
bad.
you go.
I was
Oh,
muted
you good?
because there's some noise in here, so I don't want to interrupt that much. Uh,
Oh, okay. Okay.
I was saying that it's extremely interesting because one player does almost the exact same thing. So
Yeah.
one player
I
win.
mean, but yeah, the routine is so important for professional athletes. It's but I mean, my whole kind of life during my career was routine, so it was nothing ever special. I was that type of guy. I was like really routine oriented and kind of always doing the same stuff. It was important for me.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
another thing that we're kind of interested on is, if you could give us your top five players of all time,
Mm.
who
Oh
would be in
wow,
that list?
man, that is tough. I haven't thought about it so much. But I would guess I would go. My point guard would be, I mean, Magic Johnson, I would say. Shooting guard, MJ. I would go Kobe at the three, and then I put LeBron at the four, and then I would put, shoot, I'll probably put Shaq at the five. It's kind of, yeah, it's such a hard thing, man, to put five of the greatest players, but, Shaq was the most dominant center, right? There's no one
Yeah,
that really could stop him at the time. I think LeBron he's got to be in there. I'll put
yeah,
him at the four, I put him at the four at this point. It kind of was spread out, do a four out, one in. And then Kobe and MJ, MJ for me was the greatest of all time. Kobe was an incredible player, and the Magic Johnson was in his era was the best point guard, and he also has a lot of size. So
yeah.
it's a big team, and they got everything you know covered.
That's nice to hear. For me personally, before the Last Dance documentary, I believe that Karim Abdul-Jabbar was the greatest of all times. You know,
Oh, yeah.
he had
That's
six
interesting.
rings, the same as Michael Jordan. He was the leading scorer of all time in the NBA.
Hmm.
He also created like a new shot that was unguardable at the moment, and changed a little bit, kind of like the way of playing at his times.
Hmm.
But then I watched the Last Dance documentary, and I I realized what MJ's greatness was.
Oh man. Yeah. But that's interesting that you said Kareem because his name really doesn't get brought up. It's kind of disrespectful because he was so great. Literally, the top scorer. He has a record for top scorer. Um, he definitely deserves to be in a conversation. I would say um, things that people might not know is as a teammate, he was kind of, Magic Johnson was the real leader of that team, right?
Yeah,
Um, but when you look at MJ, if people have some type of problems with kind of how he led, he was kind of tough on his teammates, but he was the clear leader of those. He was the one that drove his team and those championships. So it's like he dominated clearly everybody in the league, and then he brought his teammates along. So that all goes involved when I think about the greatest of all time.
yeah, and I believe that being a long, well, not a long time ago, because probably I my parents watched Karim play, but when he played, I wasn't even born.
Right.
So I feel like this generation is kind of like going towards more recent players because they haven't seen how the other the greatness of the other players was. Nobody talks about
Hmm.
Will Chamberlain, and he dropped 100 points in one game. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and almost nobody talks Bill Russell's, and he won 11 rings. So uh,
Yeah. True.
I believe that like they should put out some documentaries. I don't know if they have footage. They probably don't, but if they have some
Yeah.
footage, they should make a documentary to show them to the more recent viewers how they were.
Exactly, man. It's so true. Um, when I was growing up, and one a big thing about making me actually a professional basketball player was I looked back and I actually studied. So like I knew, I was growing up in the 90s basically. I was born in 88, so the 90s was my era, but I was studying like what came before that. I was studying 80s and, Oscar Robinson, those type of players. And then like obviously I really studied like when MJ was on the scene, I really studied everything about him, everything about that era. And then obviously Kobe, and then so it was a big part of my life of studying these players and then kind of try to incorporate their stuff into my game.
Absolutely. And do you think you watch the most, Kobe or MJ? Or to take some
Ah,
moves or anything?
yeah, I mean, honestly, it was I really studied MJ. Like I watched all the videos, I watched all the actual game footage. So coming up, it was MJ, and then as I got older, it was a lot of Kobe. It was Kobe, footwork, Kobe, a lot of mentality. I learned a lot from all of my college coaches, but obviously, honestly, Kobe as well. And then when I was in college, I found Brandon Roy, who was a great player. I don't know if you know him,
Yeah, yeah.
but he was like, yeah, yeah, he had a short career, but he was great, man. In his short time, he just kind of got cut down by injuries. But my game, I felt like I could kind of emulate him a little bit more because we were kind of have similar type body types, similar type games. So I studied a lot of those three.
You know who is one that I personally grew up watching a lot, or not like of my era, but I looked a lot of his highlights, to try to copy him.
Yeah, who's
Uh,
that?
it's Jason Williams.
Jason Jason Williams, the big guy, the big
No,
man.
the point guard that
Oh,
played
did
in
you?
the Kings and in Miami.
Oh,
His
okay.
nickname was a White Chocolate, I believe.
Yeah, of course, of course.
He
Okay, yeah,
he was so creative.
yeah, he was, man. The elbow pass, the behind the back.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's dope. So you were a point guard?
Here in South America, all people are 5'9", so we all are point guards.
Okay, I hear you. That's cool
Uh,
though, man.
you know,
J Will was dope. He was good.
yeah.
He was good.
Perfect. And we have another two sections that they are much shorter than this previous one. This second section is one in which the previous player we interviewed left a question for you. In this case, it's Hamadi Njae, I believe. I'm not 100% right on his last name, but
Mm-hmm.
he plays right now in France. He played a couple of games in the NBA, and he left a question for you. In this case, you kind of answered it already on the conversation that we had, but
Uh-huh.
the question he left for you is: Who is the player that you grew up watching the most, and what is one thing that you like about him?
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, we covered that, but I mean, there's so much I can say about that because I mean, honestly, MJ was so formulative, as I was growing up, and he was the biggest thing in the '90s and in the NBA. But I really loved his mentality to like dominate on defense and offense, and kind of carry his team and bring that. Some players have that aura around them,
Yeah.
like they just give confidence to the team. And I always wanted to do that for when I was on the court to like give confidence to my teammates and like, you know, try to win the game no matter what, that type of mentality. So I learned that from MJ, man. A lot of moves, a lot of, I was jumping underneath the basket, flying high, trying to dunk, that type of stuff.
I never say this, but I'm going to recommend you a TV show. It's an anime. I never watch animes, I never do.
Okay.
But one
Mm-hmm.
friend of mine had kind of like a anime, era in his life, and he recommended me
Mm-hmm.
this basketball anime. I don't know if you watch it. It's Kuroko no Basket.
Oh, no, no, no. It's about what's it about?
It's about basketball. It's almost like I'm going to resume it in shortly, but they are
Okay.
like there is like a six uh, six people team in high school, and they were all
Mm-hmm.
invincible. And they were called, like, I don't know the name because I haven't watched it in a while, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but they were the biggest players, not only in their class, in the entire, Japan. And there is one player that was the sixth man that was called like kind of the ghost because he, almost like disappeared during the games. And everyone has like a kind of a different ability, but they
Mm-hmm.
touch a lot the aura, the thing that you just said, like aura, thing on each player. And everyone goes to a different college to play, and they play against each other. You should definitely, you can
Oh
try
yeah.
an episode on two, and if you don't like it, you
I'll
don't like it.
definitely will. Hey, after this, text me the name and I'll check it out.
I have to say, I'm not an anime guy, but that thing in particular, I loved it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds cool, man. For sure.
Perfect. And do you have a question you want to leave for our next guest?
Oh man. Let's see. I would say to the next guest, I have a couple questions. What caused them to fall in love with the game, right? Or if they do still love the game, but what caused them to really fall in love with the game, and what do they love the most about what they do?
That's great. We never had that question before. It's really interesting.
Mm, cool, man.
Perfect. And the last section, this is one of our personal favorites. It's called Flash Questions. It has nothing to do with basketball, and it's kind of rapid fire.
Cool.
So whenever you're ready,
Let's go. I'm ready.
favorite movie?
Favorite movie?
Yeah.
Oh man, he got game.
Favorite TV show?
Ooh, favorite TV show is um, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, Breaking Bad.
Not including basketball. What sport do you watch or play the most?
I watch soccer.
You're watching the World Cup?
I will be, yeah, not yet, but I'm going to, yeah, this week.
it started today, you know.
I know it started.
But
I
it
hope
was kind of a bad game, so so it wasn't that appealing.
I didn't miss anything. I didn't miss anything.
A teammate you used to spend the most time with,
Oh, in college or when? Um,
whenever you
my
want.
college, yeah, Danny, my college roommate, Danny Piepoli, he ended up becoming my best friend, and we spent a lot of time together.
Perfect. Favorite food.
Italian food,
You know,
pasta, pasta.
now it makes sense that you were in Italy that long.
Exactly.
Favorite video game.
Favorite video game? Well, NBA 2K. Yeah, last year I actually had an opportunity to do the acting for that game, for that video
Yeah.
game. So yeah, so whoever's out there playing, I did the motion capture acting and my player some of the acting for that stuff.
Oh, that's really cool. I did not knew that. I
Oh
play a
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
2K,
yeah.
man. I
Okay, yeah. Well, now you know.
hot or cold?
Oh man, I'm out here in beautiful California. Hot. I like the heat. I like the sun.
One dream left to accomplish, and not basketball related.
Oh man, that's easy. So my next dream is to help everybody and whoever needs help achieve their goals. So that's what I'm trying to do right now, help people achieve what their dreams and goals are.
You're helping us.
No, man, I'm glad I can do my part.
Favorite artist or musician?
My favorite artist. I have so many. Music is such a big part of my life, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say Marvin Gaye, old school.
And finally, favorite basketball shoes?
My favorite, I got to go with Kobe's, man. They were the most comfortable that I had with in my career, and I love it. So
That's almost the most common answer. Kobe fives, they are the
yeah,
ones that we get the most.
yeah. And honestly, I think they did a study, and of the NBA players, I think there's more NBA players that wear Kobe's than any other shoe. Like so,
That
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. I mean, they do make the best shoe. Like as far as the comfortability, like they help you move. You know, everything Kobe did, he put a lot of thought into it, so it makes sense.
Well, I used to work Iris, but they are not making them anymore. So I guess I will join
Oh my
yours
gosh.
in a couple of months.
Yeah, man, I'm not even gonna touch on that subject. But yeah, yeah. No, I hear you.
Well, Eric, that's basically it. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here, and we'll keep in touch to give you the status of the interview and everything.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Can I just say one thing about
Absolutely.
yeah, we talked about helping others and so if anybody, you got a lot of basketball listeners or kids or whatever, if they need any help, I have a company called Inizio, um, and they can find it if they follow my Instagram. I have a link there, but it's called inizioconsulting.net. They can go to and get in contact with me. And I have two other people who help with, if you're an overseas student who's trying to come to the United States for scholarships or looking for basketball opportunities, I can get you in touch with the right people that specialize in helping with that. If you need any tips for basketball training, diet, nutrition, mindset stuff, uh, you can contact me personally, and I'd love to help people with that stuff. So yeah, I just want to help these next generation become better.
That's great to hear. We
Cool,
we,
man.
we have some Chilean. We live in Chile, so if there are any Chilean players that think they have the what's needed to go to the NCAA or anything, they
Yeah,
can go talk to Eric, and he'll do the most, I believe.
I would definitely, I'll point you to the right direction and help you. So I love Chilean. I love the Chilean people are strong, strong-minded, and that's what you need if you want to be successful in life and in sports especially. It's a lot of the mind, right? You got to be able to go through adversities, be able to go through setbacks, just be strong in anything you do, right? And that's ingrained in the Chilean people, so it's gonna help. It helps for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Eric, we'll let you know if anyone wants, it needs your help to go play over there or anything.
Of
Really.
course. Yeah. I'm just you know where to find me.
Perfect. Thanks a lot,
All right,
Eric.
man. Appreciate you. Hey, and send me that link. I wanna see that. I'm gonna check out that stuff, the
Absolutely.
cartoon.
I'll send it to
All
you.
right, man.
See ya.
Appreciate it.